This was all part of us experiencing a real director in Hollywood fighting the studio system to get the way his picture should be, and they'd cut it down miserably. They ruined his goddamn picture. What, you know, how dare you do that kind of thing? I mean, he raised hell over the way they'd cut his picture, and I remember that. I was there one day when he ran a producer off the set, you know, and it was from Columbia, one of them, we were down in Macon, and the guy come in, you know, talking, get off my fucking set, you know what I mean? And the producer cowered, you know, went off, backed off and ran, kind of almost ran off the set. Mexico is something else. The experience and excitement of going into Durango, flying in and going out on the set, his contribution to the Westerns was, he made it all so real. And that's what it needed, not a manufactured kind of thing.
Moving out of your positions before you came in here, please.
Every movie is another creation, another world to become involved in. And that was like thrilling. We were like travelers in that creative world, and Sam led the way.
Well, you know you got a problem. You also know you're on a picture with Peckinpah when, in my case, for breakfast, I was served my breakfast the first day and I had maggots in it. Now, when that happens, you know you're on a Peckinpah picture, because he doesn't care a fig about where you are or what you do as long as you're there. We're always out and out of the way places. You're always going to jail. The fights on Major Dundee, the fight started at 11 o'clock at night on every Saturday. We're going through a part of town where they would slice your throat for a dime and give you 9 cents change. These were not nice people. And Sam said, "Oh, look, there's a," and he's out of the car. Ben Johnson and I went after him to see what he was going to do. And here's a bar that looked like something from Casablanca. Here, all these people, everybody's drinking, people are on the floor. Sam walked up to the bar. We got there just about this time. He ordered some beer. They brought him a glass of beer. He took a taste, spit it in the bartender's face, and said, "Your cow has been urinating in the beer again, and the fight is on." And I mean literally the fight is on. I would say about 10 minutes later, Ben and I found ourselves in a corner, back to back. We're dodging knives, broken bottles, blackjacks, the whole works. They're trying to kill us. And we look around and Peckinpah is gone. He's just walked off and left us. Not only did he walk off and leave us, he took the car with him.
He was a guy who was a genius for 3 hours a day, at least 3 hours a day, sometimes more, depending on how much he was drinking. He was a working alcoholic, as he called himself, but he was a wonderful director.
Es gab einfach keine Frauenrolle in diesem Drehbuch. Ja, und er hat dann eigentlich sehr stark auf meine Biografie hingeschrieben, eine Frau aus Wien, eine Frau, die mit einem Arzt verheiratet ist. Und wir mochten uns sehr. Er war ein Künstler, ein feingliedriger, schmaler, zierlicher Mann mit einem ganz kindlichen Gesicht, sehr schüchtern. Und er war immer so sehr ein bisschen bemüht, dieses sehr junge Mädchen, das ich war, 22 Jahre alt, zu behüten. Und auf der anderen Seite war er sehr neugierig und hat mich viel gefragt nach Musik. Das weiß man eigentlich nicht, dass er sich sehr für klassische Musik interessiert hat. Und für Wien eben aus diesem Grund, also Gustav Mahler und so, das hätte man bei Peckinpah nicht vermutet. mit dem konnte man sich nicht gut verstehen. Der ist erst später ein Weise oder ein Weiserer geworden. Der stand in einem unendlichen Rivalitätsverhältnis eigentlich zu jedem anderen Mann am Set, und da waren ja nun genügend. Und in einem direkten Konkurrenzverhalten zum Charlton Heston. Also das war schon ganz witzig. Die haben sich also die Absätze von Tag zu Tag immer höher machen lassen, damit ja nicht der Heston, der relativ groß ist, und Harris war eben nicht so groß, damit ja nicht der Heston größer ist als er. Und also ganz kindische Sachen sind da passiert.
I love Chuck, but Chuck is also a poser. You ever noticed, if you looked at his pictures, he's a poser. That's one of the things he learned works well for him. Well, you can't be a poser and work for Peckinpah. The one does not go with the other. So Sam took it upon himself to get Chuck out of posing. Chuck wanted, not when I say pose, he doesn't just stop the whole thing, but he knows how to move the camera for himself and himself for the camera. We're about to do the big scene at the river. Chuck is there and he's got his saber. And he's doing some stuff, and Sam decides to needle him, and he does. Chuck turned as blue as a pair of your pants, and he drew that sword back. He was going to cut Sam right in two. We'd had two Peckinpahs. But I guess discretion, the better part of valor, he didn't strike him, and he could have, and we'd all been better off. I don't know, though, if we'd had two Peckinpahs, what would have happened then?
He knew how to bring something out of an actor that even the actor didn't know was there. And that's what an actor works for, because what else is there? Saying lines or being cute or whatever? No. Yeah, that's, people think about that. People think that acting is an easy chore. Why, I can do that, you know, like they have today. You know, tits and ass and the stud-o who's always doing his trip, you know, shooting and killing and blowing things up. Nah, that's junk. It's terrible junk. Commercial shit is what it is. And everybody likes it because it's easy. Nobody has to think about anything. They just sit there and sensitize themselves or desensitize themselves to anything real. And they say, oh boy, wasn't he great? Boom, did you see that gun he had? They're made for 13, 14-year-old boys.
I don't make pictures for everyone. I make pictures for myself and hope that a lot of people feel like I do.
Es ist nicht mal eine Wüste, sondern das ist so ein karstiges Gebiet, ja, nur Steine und Steppe und so, und dann ein armer, trockener Fluss, dort haben wir gedreht. Dann gab es natürlich auch noch, es gab auch wunderbare Drehorte, also Villa Hermosa, wo diese Badeszene ist, das ist also geradezu unvergesslich schön.
Mexico was a very special place for my father. I think it's because of good food, of music, of mariachis, of drinking, no, guns.
I was a wardrobe man at the time, the last class, lowest on the rung possible wardrobe man. And so when they came in to do the fittings for all the actors on Major Dundee, I wasn't even involved with that. But then they wanted me to age it because I got really good at making new clothes look old. The guy that the head costumer had just gone down to Mexico and just had because the troop had to age too, he just set them up against walls and just spray painted them. So me with my fine needlepoint and detail where guys had cut stuff and all my Lepage's glue and my mineral oil and carefully creased hats, when they stood up right against what this guy did, you know, it was night and day. And Peckinpah says, that's nothing. So he fired the head guy. And my father was the head of Columbia at the time, wardrobe department. So he had to go down there, and his ass was really on the line. And so finally it got to be where how do we make the two contingents look alike? And so Peckinpah says, get me the man who did this. And I mean, oh God, I really didn't want to. And you're gonna, you know, because I heard such horror stories about Peckinpah, and they were true. People were getting canned and fired, and it was just any story you heard out of Major Dundee was just an awful, most terrible story. So I didn't want to go there. And then they gave me a big Panavision lens to smuggle into the country as long as I was going. So I met Sam.
We all worked very well with Sam because we trusted him. And that in opposition to most of the studio heads, producers, etc., who didn't trust him at all.
We knew we had a problem right from the beginning because of the producer who didn't understand Sam. Well, who the hell does understand Sam? I don't know.
Stand in einem ständigen Konflikt, in einer ständigen Spannung mit sich selber. Fühlte sich immer beobachtet. War es ja letztendlich auch. Und sehr bald hat eben die Produktion gesehen, dieser Mann ist ein Wahnsinniger. Und war es auch in einem gewissen Sinne, weil hat natürlich unendlich viel Material gedreht.
That set us back. The weather is screwing us up. The scorpions are stinging people and killing them. And we're just having a heck of a time getting underway. Finally, we get it done. We get started. We're going along okay. The studio looks at the stuff and says, oh, well, and they are running low on time and money, and so they come along and they try to get Sam to move faster. It's the wrong approach. Don't ever tell Sam you want him to speed up, because he's going to cut everything in half and take forever. But they didn't stop to think about that. They jumped on his back, and he said, which we can't quote here, but he told them that's not the right thing to do, and they said, you're fired.
The actor, me and LQ and a whole bunch of them said, if you fire Sam, I'm going to quit, and then all the rest of them will quit.
Now, up steps you-know-whom, Chuck the Heston, who's one of the nice people of the world. He was happy with what was happening with the picture, and so he said, I tell you what, I'll make you a deal. Let Sam stay on, and since you're having trouble with the budget, don't pay me. Take my money and apply it towards the picture. Thinking to himself, I got them now. If I make this sort of a gesture, they're going to go forward. He mentioned it to his agent, who passed water and said, Chuck, you're out of money because they're going to accept it. Nah, they're not going to accept it. The next day they said, fine. Chuck was out of money and the picture was moving forward, and his agent was about to kill him.
And he did that for Sam, and Sam had people see who stood up. I mean, that even happened in Hollywood. That heartened people out here, that we weren't just like extras in a big machine. I felt that way. I felt thrilled the fact that Charlton Heston went. That surprised me, because I didn't think he would. You know, I mean, that changed my whole thing. So there are a lot of people who made it out here and still have that spirit going.
That was a regular Mexican army, and they didn't know that area had been had umber cones in there. He didn't know that it had the explosives there. He blew those right underneath the horses. He just set them off. Those were real horses running across, and real soldiers trying to catch their horses, and all of that. They had no idea that was coming. The major did. He didn't care. He had his new Cadillac, you know.
Today we have action films, not films with action. Sam was probably accused of too much violence. He was a man of nonviolence. He wanted to show violence the way it was in order to achieve nonviolence, to make it so repulsive that nobody wanted to see it. Today they glamorize violence, unfortunately.
I don't think that I have to make any more comments about violence. We get it between commercials on television now.
Ich glaube, dass die Gewalt Amerikas fürchtete, die Gewalt der Menschen fürchtete, dass den Missbrauch von Macht, hat sich immer sehr stark auf Amerika bezogen. Also man könnte sagen, ja, das gibt es überall, aber das war eben sein Land. Und er hat die Geschichte Amerikas in ihrer Gewalttätigkeit faszinierend gefunden. Ja? Er selbst aber war kein gewalttätiger Mann. Er hat sich dann auch verliebt in eine mexikanische Schauspielerin, die er später geheiratet hat, eigentlich gegen jedes Argument und gegen jede Vernunft, weil man wusste, das kann einfach nicht gut gehen. Aber er war sehr glücklich in dieser Zeit und sehr verliebt.
When he went to Mexico, I gave him the name of my niece, Begonia Palacios. He went there and he hired her. He only hired her, he married her, for Christ's sakes. They separated, and then he went courting again, and so he wanted her to marry again. He said, I won't marry you, don't marry by the church, because I'm a Catholic. So Sam has to be a Catholic. And the day of the baptism, I sneaked around and put a bottle of vodka in the baptismal pile. So when they threw the water up there for him, he started tasting the vodka. He turned at me and says, he knew I did it.
Sam thought he had final cut. Of course, he didn't have final cuts. His agent told him he did. And Sam played it like he had final cut, but he didn't. They took it away from him. Jerry Bressler cut the film and ruined it.
It was an operation that was trumped up, but nevertheless they fired him.
That coupled with what they were saying about him because of Major Dundee made him unhireable.
Not only can't he get a job, they won't let him on the lots. They will not return his phone call, and he sits there for a couple of years.
If you had Sam Peckinpah doing your film, he was going to do a Sam Peckinpah film. He wasn't going to do a Jerry Bressler film or a 20th Century Fox film or a Columbia film. He was going to do a film by Sam Peckinpah, which is the reason that you hired him in the first place.
If you're going to make a picture with Peckinpah, then hire Peckinpah and get the hell out of his way.
All of us kind of felt proud that we working with a director who tells producers go fuck themselves, you know what I mean? Then we know we're working for an artist, and he was willing to be fired and everything else.
I was told that I had a particular style. I said, yeah, really? Because, you know, I couldn't care less. Doesn't concern me. I don't consciously work out anything. All my guts, all my life, everything I am is up there on the screen. So every morning you get up, you commit, and you do the best you can, that's all.
I enjoy doing nonviolent pictures. I don't think anybody's ever accused me of using violence for its own sake. It's more a question that if they see it clearly enough, they'll recognize the violence in themselves and be able to deal with it. But I think I've failed in many cases.